Hey, this is Mitch. Welcome back to the Life Stories channel. It's been a minute since I've been able to post a video. I've been pretty busy and a little under the weather, so I'll post a story or two here to make up for it. If you like the story that you hear, hit the like button. If you want to hear more stories like the one that you're about to hear, hit that subscribe button. If you know people who want to hear inspirational or humorous stories about other people's lives, send them my way here at the Life Stories channel. And if you have one of your own, email it to me at lifestorieswithmitch@gmail.com, and I'll take the good ones and we'll post them to this channel. Anyway, the story I'm going to tell today is about when I was a kid. Back when I was between about 10 and 16 years old, my folks would stick me on a Greyhound bus between Madison, Wisconsin and St. Paul, Minnesota. This is a trip that would normally take about 4.5 hours by car, but on a Greyhound bus it took about 10 hours because we stopped literally at every single overpass along the way to let people off and pick people up. And we'd stop for an hour at probably the worst place I've ever eaten in my life, just outside of Eau Claire, Wisconsin, for lunch or dinner on the way to and from. Now, this is something that would never be allowed to happen today. You'd never put your 10-year-old on a bus and send them up to St. Paul, Minnesota by themselves. But back in the 70s when I was growing up, it was, not an uncommon thing to do. Um, and it certainly made me a better person, made me more self-reliant and less afraid of the outside world. And I certainly appreciate my parents for having the trust in me to be able to do that and know that I was going to arrive there safely in one piece and I wasn't going to walk off at one of the various stops. So it was a good thing for me, But I go up and see my grandmother on my dad's side up in St. Paul, spend a couple of weeks. And one summer when I was 13, we went with a church group to on a canoeing trip. Little small tributary running through a park there in St. Paul, and we got canoes and we got in and rode around for a while, and we came to a place where it was too shallow for the canoes uh, to pass, so we had to take the canoes out of the water and portage to another part of the stream. Well, at 13, I wasn't smart enough to do things like wear shoes when I was going to go in the water, strange water. And so when I stepped out of the canoe, I stepped on something, and I still don't know what it was to this day, but it cut my foot in two different places in a very, very severe way. Um, they called the nine. Back then there wasn't 911. They dialed the police department, and the ambulance came out and took me to the hospital there. And I sat there in the ER for about 3.5 hours with my foot wrapped up in a towel, blood soaking through it, uh, waiting on the kid next to me. Now I wasn't, I was kind of hurting, but I wasn't anything like this kid next to me. The kid next to me apparently had made some enemies in the neighborhood who thought they were his friends, or he thought they were his friends. Because his story was as he was screaming in pain, and I couldn't see him. There was a curtain around my bed. But as he was screaming in pain, his story was that two of his friends doused him in gasoline and set him on fire. And he had third-degree burns everywhere, and he's just screaming his head off, and I can't blame him. I can't imagine what kind of pain he was going through with second and third-degree burns after being immolated by his friends. Um, so that was a not a fun time. But after all of that, the doctor finally came in, and I cut my foot in two places. And he stuck his finger in one of the cuts, and it came out the other, and he picked my whole leg up. So apparently, whatever cut me went all the way through. Um, Took about I guess if I remember correctly, the bill said something between 50 and 75 stitches. I don't know exactly how many. There were probably 25 or 30 outside. I'm sure they put plenty inside too. Um, and they wrapped my foot up in an ace bandage, and they sent me back over to my grandma's house to spend the rest of the time, my couple of weeks. So my grandmother, she raised show dogs, schnauzers, to show at local dog shows and to breed and sell the puppies. And while I was there, we were going to go to a dog show in Duluth. So we loaded up the two dogs we were taking to the show in the back of a Honda Civic, and me and my grandmother and my aunt, who happens to be exactly my same age, loaded up in the Civic. We drove up to Duluth, Minnesota, to this dog show. We got to the dog show, and there's all sorts of dogs there. We're not obviously just showing schnauzers, but it's all sorts of dogs there. And I'm on crutches because I got this big cut and stitches in the bottom of my foot with this ace bandage wrapped around it. And walking around the dog show, the dogs kind of took an interest to my foot. One dog came up and he started sniffing on it and paused for a minute and sniffed on it again, and then he paused for a minute and he turned around and he lifted his leg and he peed all over my foot. So, needless to say, my foot became more interesting to the rest of the dogs in the show, because as I was going around the bourse there, every dog that encountered me sniffed my foot and proceeded to raise their leg to pee on my foot. Apparently I became territory while I was at the dog show. A couple hours of that, and you could take the ace bandage off and just wring the urine out of it. It was a lot of fun. Got to meet a lot of interesting dogs. Nobody sniffed my ass, though, so that was a good thing. But that's what I call being a marked man at a dog show, when you have to walk around with some dog's urine on your person. So that's my story for this time. Again, if you like the story, hit the like button. If you want to subscribe and hear more stories about this, hit the subscribe button. And if you know people that want to hear stories like this, send them on. Thanks.